Oh, man, I love hanging with you. This has been fun.
It has been.
It has been, and we have another segment to go here. When you first walked into the Steelers locker room, who was there? Your first time walking in there, who was there?
It was, I got to remember, I signed in 87.
Yep.
That was a strike
year.
So I didn't sign until October 28th.
You went to Berlin, right?
I was overseas running a European track circuit. My first place I went to, one day I'm here. I was staying here in L.A.
Right.
I was living over in Ladera Heights with my agent's mother's cousins, something like that. And I was here, and the next day I was in Nice, France.
Because you were running track.
I was running track.
Because you were holding out. Is that what you were doing?
I was holding out. I think the strike went a couple weeks into the season. They had the strike players.
Right.
And I didn't come from a lot of money, and they were offering me some money. And I remember Jim Boston being the negotiator. Jim came in and said, "We're going to offer you this, Rod. You got to take it." And I said, "Listen, Mr. Boston, with all due respect, never had the money. Don't know what it feels like. I'll be in France. You want to call me? You can call me over there." The next day I took a flight, went out there, and had a ball.
You started running track. And I know this, you know how I know this story? Because we've done so much together, is you and I, if you remember, we went to NFL Films and called an NFL Europe game live on NFL Network off a television monitor.
That's right.
And it was it was Berlin, one of the teams was Berlin.
Right. That's right.
And you go, you know what, I've been in that stadium.
Yep, I ran in that stadium.
And that's where Jesse Owens won his gold medals, right?
Yeah.
In that stadium.
In that stadium. I mean, so I ran all over Europe that summer.
Uh-huh.
I was in London. I was U.S. versus Canada. I ran against them. I had a good time.
Are you aware you're the longest holdout in Steelers history?
Am I really?
Yes. The Steelers have never had anybody hold out longer than you held out.
I take pride in that.
So who was in that locker room
when
you
I first got there? Really nobody. But like the next week, Mel Blount. Well, that's not true. Mean Joe Green. Mm-hmm. Mean Joe Green was on the coaching staff. Mm-hmm. When I got there, Mike Webster was still the center. Mm-hmm. Donnie Shell was still the safety.
Right.
And John Stallworth was still receiver. So it was still three great players in Steeler history.
Yeah.
Right there. And then Mel Blount came in like a week later. It was great to see him.
Mel Blount.
And then Ham came in, and Rocky Blyer came in.
I told this story the other day that meeting Mel Blount at the Hall of Fame, which I have a pleasure to go to every year covering it for NFL Network.
Right.
And I think it was at SAP's after party a couple years ago. And there's Bruce Smith, one of the biggest human beings I have ever seen.
Right.
And then there's Mel Blount, a head and shoulders taller than him.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was a big corner.
Yeah.
I'm 6'1". And Mel is a country guy, right? And he wears his boots and his big belt and his hat.
Yeah.
And when I stood up, he was like this over me.
Yeah.
And I was like, I see why they changed the rules.
That's what I thought, too.
That's what I said, though.
When I saw him the first time, I'm like, no wonder they changed the rules for you.
You're too big to be playing corner. That was unfair.
And everybody else who was playing at the time at wide receiver or any other position had to have been little peewees compared to him.
Yeah.
And they did change the rules because of him, did
they
not?
He was a big physical guy. He could run like a deer. I mean, I don't think we'll ever see a corner that size ever again, that good. I mean, we might see somebody that's 6'3", but nobody like that. That's 6'4"-ish, that can run like a deer. He was agile. He played like a small corner. I don't think we'll ever. I think he's the best corner to ever play.
And Noel, after you held out, what was he like when you first introduced yourself to him?
Chuck didn't say a whole bunch.
Okay.
Chuck was kind of I caught him in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Probably the craziest thing that ever happened to me with Chuck is like, I was late to our Saturday practice. That's because my dog got out of this cage, chewed my phone, no lie. I hear a knock. You know how you're sleeping and you hear something and you're like, oh my goodness, and you knew you did something wrong. I knew I missed it, but it was a knock at my door in my apartment. I was staying at the schoolhouse at that time, this place called the Schoolhouse on the south side of Pittsburgh. And I answered the door. It's Mean Joe Green.
Knocking on your door.
Knocking on my door. He just looks at me and goes, "Get to the facility." I said, "Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir." Yes. So I run to the facility, right? I get there. I go in to see Coach Noel, and I told him a story. I said, "Listen, honestly, cell phones was not existing, right?
Right, the dog ate my phone.
So the dog chewed my phone. It got out of the cage. I don't know how it got out of the cage. It got out of the cage.
Yeah.
I had one phone. It went into the living room, chewed the cord out of the wall. So I had no way to wake up. And then I didn't hear my alarm for some odd reason. And I said, I'm serious. And he looked at me and said, either you're being honest or you're a great liar. Get out of my office. And that was the last practice I was late to.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I would have been, were you quaking in your boots walking
I was scared.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, Mean Joe Green, he was our D-line coach. And his D-line room was right next to the DB room. Now, DB coach was Tony Dungy. Tony Dungy's a laid-back guy, so Tony never raised his voice. We could hear projectors breaking in the D-line room. So when he knocked on my door, I was scared. I thought I was going to get in really trouble.
Interestingly enough, with Tony Dungy, defensive coach, and so many head coaches being defensive head coaches based off of, it's a copycat league. And,
Right.
And a lot of defensive coaches get their ability to be head coaches. You take a look at the defensive coaches who are head coaches right now in the NFL, and they're not faring so well. Do you think that's the
struggling a little
rules
bit.
also? That's happening?
Well, I don't think it's just
Or it's
the
a
rules.
quarterback-driven league, and these guys don't have quarterbacks.
Well, I think Rex Ryan was sabotaged. It seemed like he was sabotaged in New York because I know he didn't want Tim Tebow. He doesn't have Darrelle Revis.
He did not want Tim Tebow.
He doesn't have Cromartie anymore. He doesn't have any of his players that that really made him the coach he was in New York when he first got there.
Well, I just want to stop you right there. You have heard this, that he did.
I'm not saying. I don't know. I'm just saying as a
defensive guy, there's no way he would want Tim Tebow.
Knowing Rex Ryan, I just can't see that he's going to say, you know what, I'm going to hang my hat on Tim Tebow. I just can't see him saying that. And I look at it from afar, just thinking this couldn't be Rex's doing because there's no way you want to get rid of your best corner in Revis. And then your second best corner in Cromartie. And then you don't have any corners really to work with. And the way he plays his defense, the way he calls defenses, he needs corners. He needs corners to be able to cover outside. But he's struggling. You got Gus Bradley. He's struggling down in Jacksonville. You got Mike Smith is struggling. DA got fired in Oakland.
Dennis Allen.
Right. So
what about the idea that this is a quarterback-driven league and defensive coordinators who become head coaches do not develop quarterbacks very well? What about that sort of stigma that's being mentioned?
Don't know
Certainly
if
about Rex, it's being said in New York.
I know that is true. Mark Sanchez doesn't look too bad right now, does he, in New York?
Yeah. Well, I mean,
anyway,
we'll see what happens if he's got to get into a game for Chip Kelly.
Right. But anyway, I look at John Fox. John Fox is doing okay. Mike Tomlin is doing okay. Now, they're not developing. I think if you're a defensive coordinator, what you have to get is a strong OC who's a head coach. If you're a DC that becomes a head coach, you got to get a strong offensive coordinator who's a strong ability to communicate with the quarterback.
Like Zimmer, what Zimmer's done in Minnesota with North.
Right. So you have to do something like that and give it over to him and say, hey, this is yours. I need you to develop these guys and let's go play football. Our defense is going to be good. I need you to take care of the offense. And I think if you can do that, they'll be successful.
All right. Well, we have a gift bag for you because you asked for it. There you go. Yeah. And it's by the lovely Sean White. There he is. Yeah. There you go, Ron.
He kind of looks like Sean.
I know. That's how we refer to him. Okay, go for it.
So what I got?
Let's see what you got.
Oh, I got
this
a
is
hat.
Like Thursday Night Football postgame show.
Yeah,
there you go. You got a hat. Rich Eisen hat.
No Deion.
Oh, I got a.
Oh yeah, come on. This is gonna rock it.
Yeah.
Rich Eisen.
I got a shirt.
There you go. What else do we have?
And I got a T-shirt.
There you go, Rod.
Well, you know what I'll do?
Rock
I'm gonna
it.
put the T-shirt under the polo.
However you wish.
And I'll take a selfie and tweet that out on Sunday in Levi Stadium.
One of the most old school guys that I know just told me that he's going to take a selfie, tweet it out in the newest stadium in the National Football League.
But I got kids, Rich, so
okay.
Selfies.
Grandkids, you've got grandkids.
I got yeah.
Your grandson is how old?
He's 4. He's big too. He comes up to here on me.
Oh my
He's
God.
a big boy.
All right. Well, this is not a goodbye gift. Okay.
Yeah,
this is a we'll see you again soon because you asked for a gift. We're friends forever.
Friends forever.
Hey, you wrote that. I didn't tell you to write that.
You did not.
Roderick, you're the man.
I appreciate it.
Have a good cast.
Thank you.
Rams and 49ers on Westwood 1.
And got to hope it's a game
Sunday.
to the fourth quarter.
Listen, it was a game for at least a half. when they played on Monday night.
Yes.
You never know. Ron Woodson is here in studio. The Rich Eisen show is going to wrap up. My flight for Charlotte leaves in about an hour and 40 minutes. Good thing we're right next to LAX. But we're
right here.
We're right here. As a matter of fact, DirecTV is so locked in, the plane might come here to pick me up. Seriously.
I saw the helicopter pad out there.
Is that right? No, that's for Chris Law. Because his car just broke down again.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.